This show is a Phonic Media production.
Hey, friend, and welcome back to Business Marriage, where today on the podcast, why are you doing that weird, one eyebrow thing?
Do you know, am I the friend?
No, the listener is the friend.
Okay.
I was about to say, you look really, really pretty today, and then I can see there's lots of biscuit in your teeth. You might want to sort that out because there's cameras on you. Okay, welcome back to Business Marriage. Not cutting this out. If you're watching the video, we're not cutting out. Bam, 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 bam.
Why are we doing a chicken dance?
I don't know.
You're watching the video. We're doing a chicken dance. Now I'm paranoid about having biscuit in my teeth.
It's got that teeth.
Teeth.
I'm paranoid about having biscuit in my teeth. Anyway, hello. Welcome back to the podcast. This is Business Marriage, the UK's premier non-celebrity couple podcast. I don't know if that's true or not, but
We're
fuck
owning it. We're owning it. You say
tell me not?
it's real, right?
if you say it with enough authority, then
Yeah.
anything becomes true.
Is that real?
Apparently.
Okay.
Perception is reality. Apparently.
Okay.
There you go. Today on the podcast, we're talking all about creating a culture. Hayley's very organised. You probably can't sit well.
I'm very
obviously-
awkward. Do you know what? I'm like, like a newsreader with my papers in front of me. I'm just going to shuffle them. There you go.
You would make the worst newsreader ever.
Why?
Because you talk like that for a start off, and then if anything emotional happened, you just cry. You'd be really worried,
Or I'd laugh
and
at
then
things that I shouldn't laugh
and
at
then-
because
oh, yeah, that is your
I've got
thing.
that really bad. I need to look into this actually. Maybe the listeners can help because there must be a name for it or a term
Oh,
for it.
yeah.
But I laugh at really bad situations.
properly tragic
really
situations.
tragic situations. So if we were sat here now and someone walked in and announced some really bad news, my reaction would be to laugh. And it's not because I find it funny, but it's like a shock. And it has got me in some serious awkward situations.
Because you've done this at funerals, haven't you? You've been sat in a funeral,
I've sat in a
pissing yourself
funeral,
laughing.
And I'm not talking like a little giggle. I'm talking full on, belly laughing, shoulders up and down, crying. No,
Don't cry with laughter, not crying with
laughter.
actual tears.
Yeah, not crying with tears. Well, tears, laughter tears.
Laughter tears. There must be a thing for that. There
There's
must
got
be
to.
a term.
So if anyone knows the term, can you let me know?
Yes, get in touch. You can get in touch with the show. You click the link in the show notes now. You can email us, hello@businessmarriagepod.com.
Well done, James.
It's the first time I said that correctly in a little while. Let's get into culture then. What did you want to talk about culture? Do you feel like is your culture an issue within your business and our family?
Yeah, I just think...
I also, by the way, guys, just
talk
sort
over
of
me.
preemptively, I don't know what Hayley's written. So she does this research and then I look at this and I have to come up with what I imagine what Louis said in the car about James.
Yeah.
I've got no...
I know you don't know. That's the point. I know. It's to trigger me.
Boundaries you set...
Or should we
One
just...
thi-
should we
Yeah,
just
no,
go
but
from
I'm just
what we're
trying-
gonna go through, or should we let it just happen naturally?
Wow.
Wow.
I know we wanted to be honest and transparent, but I didn't realise you were going to go full bitch mode, which is what you're like behind the scenes.
I'm going to be honest. I'm actually in a bit of a bitch mode today.
Yeah.
I just feel really annoyed.
How honest are you going to be?
I don't know. How honest? I just feel peed off today. You have those days where you just feel angry. And the reason I get so angry is because I know that I'm being negative and I'm telling myself all of these stupid thoughts. And then I get frustrated because I know that by doing that, I'm attracting more.
So you're angry about being angry, just to
angry.
clarify.
I just feel angry. Or maybe
Angry
angry is the wrong
little
word.
human.
Maybe anxious. I've got an anxious belly today.
I don't think that's a thing. Anxious bellies.
Anxious belly's not a thing.
No,
my
feeling
goodness.
anxious is a thing, but an anxious belly isn't
Where do you
a
get
thing.
the feelings of butterflies? In your belly, right? So that's why I say anxious belly.
Okay.
Anyway, yes, we're talking about creating a culture, and yeah, I do think it's a very, very, very important topic.
Do you? You've
I
gone
do.
full newsreader again. I think it's a very important topic. Welcome to
What's that
Hayley's
accent?
Important Topics.
Yeah, I do. And I think given where we're both at in our businesses, creating a culture, especially when you've got a team, but also just creating a culture with your work ethic and your boundaries, something I'm awful at.
Oh, great. I can't wait to get into this with you today. The least boundaried person I've ever met.
That's the point.
Oh, okay, right, fine.
Okay.
Fine. Where do you want to start?
Should we go business?
Yeah, okay. Let's go business. Oh, I need a jingle, didn't I? I've forgotten already. Hang on. Let's go for this one then.
Oh, we've had this before.
Well, you want me to stop then? Here you go. You want another?
It's more family. Got a bit of a soul vibe. Disco.
talk about business.
We should have had come a chameleon because they're the Culture Club. Am I allowed to sit? Have I sang over 15 seconds there?
No, that no one is ever going to listen to that and go, oh, that's so like the actual original. She needs to pay us the license fee.
Actually, if I say, oh, okay, but if
I thought you were going to go for like a business song, like "Let's Get Down to Business" by like Eminem or
no,
okay, fine.
no. Where's my tea?
You put it behind you. Before we came on air, listener, Hayley smashed her biscuits, which annoyed her.
One listener.
Yeah, you talk in the singular.
Oh, hello, singular listener.
What's that noise? What's that noise? What was that? Am I dying? What was that noise? It might not have picked up on the microphone, but I laughed at it.
It's like some sort of weird,
like a gremlin.
Dinosaur noise.
Like a weird little evil inside internal gremlin.
Oh.
Where do we get to? Values. Talk about your values. What's your values? You got fucking clue, have you? Just write this shit on a page.
My values are just work until your fingers bleed. Until there's no time left to do anything else that brings you joy.
Okay, great. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope this has been useful as always. What is your code? What did you want to do? You've written this stuff down. I don't know what you want to talk about.
Well, you can't develop. You can't just off the cuff talk about culture, James.
Well, I don't know what order you want to go in.
Let's talk about you. So, you've got a business. We said you've got 4 people that you're.
I thought you were going to
think
you got 4 businesses.
No. And you said last time when I mentioned about culture, you said it starts from day one. By the way, is what you said.
I'm sure I didn't say it like that.
I think you did. So
there's been a lot of clips that have been going out of this podcast, which have been getting a lot of traction about the real you. So I wouldn't be too judgy about how the people communicate or come across.
We'll come on to our first partner battle in a bit. So creating a culture, and you said it starts from day one. So let's go there. You've got a team.
Yes.
How do you first? Yeah, like, are you aware of creating a culture? Or you just bring people in and you just kind of like bumble along.
Yeah, basically. That's that noise again. I've definitely died. I've got a gremlin in my throat. Set up and take it seriously, newsreader. This is why you couldn't do the news.
Because what I was going to say is...
bumbling along.
When I used to actually work with people and I had a team...
when I left the house.
Yeah, when I used to actually go out and interact with people in real life. Looking back now, I don't think I ever was consciously creating a culture. I think I just was who I was. Does that make sense? And looking back now, I think I sort of was the person that I wanted to be everybody's friend. I wanted everyone to like me, but not in a way of like, oh, please like me. But I guess I didn't always... wasn't very good maybe at someone setting the boundaries, the discipline, that hard line between being a friend but also being their boss, that kind of thing. So I'm just intrigued to see where you're at on this.
Interesting. So when I first started out, it was a bit different because obviously we started our businesses during the C word. I don't want to say it in case it helps squashes your reach of content.
Yeah, don't.
But we were in lockdown, so you couldn't go anywhere. So I actually did my first ever job interview. So I'd never employed staff before. So I've mentioned previously, we've had lots of businesses. As Hayley revealed, he's had 32 jobs or whatever it was. That's actually a very good impression of you, but like, even with the head movement. And I'd had a couple of businesses, a couple of it had done all right, and then one in particular had done well. Why do you always laugh when I tell this story? This is my origin story, okay?
My origin story.
This is my origin story. Can you please respect my origin story?
I'm respecting.
This is my space. But the company that had done the best financially didn't require any other staff. It just required me and the 2 sort of bumbling idiot business partners at the time. And so I thought that's how you ran a business. And I don't really, we've talked about this before, I'm a bit of a lone wolf. I like getting stuff done. It's a lone wolf. That's such a weird thing, isn't it? Because wolves hunt in packs.
I don't know.
They don't even go out by themselves. It makes no sense, that phrase. But anyway, I like to do stuff in a certain way. I like to work in a certain way. I don't like, you hate it when I come home to work from like the home office. Like, I don't like talking. You're always like chatting like, oh, can I get your opinion on this?
This is
oh
what I
my
get.
God.
Right, this is what I get. So... okay, admittedly, sometimes I want to ask a question and he just put his headphones on. They'd be like, what's that? What's that? What's that? If you couldn't see, that's him aggressively taking off his headphones, looking at me with his little beaky face. with his nose all squashed, like going, "What's that? What's that? What's that?"
Anyway, back to me, not you.
Like a parrot.
And so that business did really well financially, but didn't have any staff. So I was like, well, why do you need staff then? But then I obviously got to a point where with this sort of podcast production company, where from a standing start, quite quickly it got to a point where I couldn't do any more work. Like I was working all the hours that I could realistically, charging what I thought was feasible and possible. And I remember because the first month, do you remember for like a standing start, I did like $7,500. I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. But then I was just maxed out 60-hour days just editing audio. And I was like, right, what am I going to do? But the first person I realised that I needed actually was the back and forth with clients was massive. So I was like, right, I need a PA. But again, because I'd never employed anyone before. You actually did the phone interview, didn't you?
What actually happened is I interviewed her on the phone, didn't I?
Yeah.
To qualify, and she was amazing.
Because I said, I was like, I don't know, what do you ask people? And
She
you were like,
was great.
Yeah.
And she'd come from a background where she worked as a PA to like a big team. She worked
She's
for
like an executive PA,
like
wasn't
an executive PA for like a big, almost like a shopping centre company, wasn't it? And she was really, really good. But I think looking back, that was again, the culture was never quite right. But I wouldn't necessarily, it's all your fault. I just think she'd come from a very different working background. So, you know.
Talked about this earlier. She asked me what the health and safety policy was. And I said, as a joke, I was like, just don't hurt yourself.
Because
I was like, what else do you need to know? You're working from home, but apparently you have to have a work from home policy.
So we were like,
I was
okay, so we did, didn't we?
Not
We
me.
had to like, our friend Kelly, who runs very successful opticians, we were like, can you help us out here? So we were like getting contracts and all sorts of things, weren't we? And
didn't have a clue.
We didn't have a clue. And
building the culture remotely was very, very difficult.
And that's interesting because I did write that down, but I didn't want to go into it too much because it doesn't necessarily relate to us. But that whole, especially since like 2020, so many more people are working from home.
Yeah.
And how do you create that culture when everyone's working remotely? And I think that was maybe the issue there, is that she'd come from a background where she's probably used to being in an office and working for a corporate company that has these kind of like strategic rules and plans and that in place. And you were just a bit like, I'm starting out, like I just want someone who comes in and helps, which she did, didn't she? She was really
mega important to the journey.
You, looking back at that point, you were probably just wanting to focus on what you wanted to do. You didn't want to have to almost like train someone over here.
There was no systems and processes. She had to make them, if that makes sense. We had to make them together.
Yeah, but it's very difficult, isn't it, for someone to come into the business and create the processes when they don't understand the business?
Yeah, and also if that's not kind of certain people are cut out for like startup life. You know, it's messy, it moves fast, it's a bit all over the place, it's quite exciting.
Yeah.
Ordinarily, you'll break things as you grow. But if you're from like a big...
So I don't know why that made me laugh.
But if you're from a big big sort of like real estate company background where there's systems and processes and probably how you send an email has to be done in a certain way and blah blah blah, all these processes, like certain people like that, they like the confines of that sort of like system. That's how they're used to working. So actually I think in terms of values in creating a culture, I think you might have to make sure that you understand what it is you're trying to build. And then the first thing is to bring people who are aligned with the mission and the vision that you've got. So, for example, after... I'll give her a shout out because she's a lovely lady. She'll probably never listen to this podcast anyway. Della, I don't think she ever listened to a podcast in her life.
She was epic.
But Della was lovely. And but it quickly became apparent. So then I had an outsourced production person. Then I had another production person.
Yeah, a lot of freelancers.
Yeah, so at one point I had one full-time member of staff. And then I had 2 full-timers remote and 4 freelance. So at one point we were a team of 2 of us in the UK and 7 around the world, a few in Europe and a few in the Philippines and stuff. And then I remember having the conversation with Paul, who kind of acts in the role of like chairman for me and kind of like advisor, because he's sort of scaled up businesses quickly before. And he said, look, from my experience, mate, you can't scale up remotely. Wow. Now, a lot of people who are listening to this will be like, that's complete bullshit. Yeah. You know, I guess it's all your lived experience. Yeah. He said, but from what I've done, the only way that you get genuine traction and genuine momentum is having bums on seats in the office when you can be looking over people's shoulders. Not that you're micromanaging or telling them what to do every 2 seconds, but just stuff moves quicker.
I can see that
that's
as well,
a big shift.
It's like the energy of you all bouncing off one another as well. Like I can see that, and that's interesting because I've said obviously on I think it was last week's podcast how I'm at that stage where I need to bring someone into the business, and I'm kind of like, do I get someone who works overseas and, you know, like bring them in full time, or do I get someone who is a bit more, who can be like nearer me, that we can meet up and do stuff? And it's like, I know I don't necessarily need to do that because people can do their work from anywhere. But I don't know, for me, having that physical connection with people where you can actually look at their, like I was there, look into their eyes, but
Creepy.
actually, do you know what I mean? Just feel like you're there together. There is definitely something about that. And I think for anyone, you know, in business, starting out in the infancy years, that is something you have to kind of think about, what is going to kind of mould that culture that you're trying to create.
I think the first thing you need to be aware of is what you're trying to build for your life.
Yeah.
And we talked about this previously about Rob Dyrdek, who's definitely my man crush.
Can we not keep shouting out? I mean, I've got nothing against the guy.
Rob Dyrdek, entrepreneur, venture capitalist, an all-round legend, a man I aspire to be like. But anyway, I love Rob Dyrdek, and that's what I'm saying. But Rob Dyrdek, so I'm saying Rob Dyrdek.
I'm just going to move on.
When she's in this mood, you have to be very careful with her because she can snap very easily. See there. There wasn't cameras here.
Right?
Oh, here we go.
So I try to be open and honest how I feel, and at times I'll say to James, I'm just letting you know that I'm feeling a little bit, I'm not quite myself today, or I'm feeling a bit anxious, thinking that he'd be like, okay, cool, noted. What James then does is he takes that information, he turns it around and throws it back in my face like that, like talking to me like an absolute child.
You finished.
Carry on.
Feel better for that.
Rob Dyrdek.
Do you feel better for that?
Dyrdek.
Rob Dyrdek. But what he talks about is design your life and then build your life around what you want it to be. And so many people do it the other way around, like us included. Because when we started the businesses, it wasn't, and we mentioned this before, it wasn't because of like, oh, this is my dream and my aspiration, and you know, I've always wanted to do this. I have in a way, but it was out of necessity. It was born and built out of necessity really, really quick. So you kind of find yourself in a position, I guess a lot of people have this with work as well, that you find yourself in a position where you're in the situation that you're in and you're not really quite sure why. Like, how did I get here running this business in this way?
Also,
and it's really important to know that in advance where you're trying to go for you.
Yeah. And also, like for us, we are both consciously working on our businesses as like leaders of the business, etc. So we understand now that knowing what your kind of values are for your business and your vision, how important it is to not only for you to know that, but for you to then pass that on to your team.
Yeah.
But if we're honest, sometimes when you're starting out, you don't think like that, do you? You feel like you've got to be a certain way. You've got to be like professional. Like you wouldn't go in to your team and be like, so this is like a startup. So this is it. You know, things might, you know, we're going to be trying stuff out. We're going to make some mistakes. There's going to be learning curves. You wouldn't necessarily say that. You'd think that you'd have to go in and be like, I've got everything, like all my shit's together. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm professional. Like, but actually, that's all part of the culture growing, isn't it? Like your team now know that they're in this exciting company that are innovative in the audio podcasting world.
Hello, sounds like an advert.
That you're like, no, but that you're looking at opportunity, that things are going to move fast, but they're kind of on board with that because you've been honest and you've made yourself have those meetings and tell the team, actually, this is where I think I want it to go. And I think that's really important.
Because I think you have to get people who will, the first stage, I think, of culture is mission and vision for yourself.
Yeah.
Then communicating that, and then when you're starting to bring people on board, because that will attract clients. Your vision and your mission is not just so you know inwardly, like what's your North Star and where are you going, but people will resonate with what you're trying to build, so they'll come and work with you. You know, there's lots of people in the podcasting space. I mean, none are as good as me, quite frankly.
Obviously.
But some will resonate with other people, some will resonate with us and what we're trying to build. But it's the same with your staff. So my first like full-time in-house position, and we talked about this before, like I properly lucked out with Sam. But I say luck, but I was on a stage speaking as like an expert or authority on the subject. He was working in the space as well. And he's like, I love what you're trying to build.
Yep.
And he loves editing audio. He's an audio geek. He won't mind me saying this because he's going to listen to Sam. I love you, Dilly. He's an audio geek. He just wants to edit audio and make cool content. That's what sort of fires him up. And he said to me, like, the whole thing of like chasing clients, invoicing, billing, all that shit. He's like, marketing. He's like, I can't be asked for it. I just like making cool content. So when he came to me, he said, and I said to him right at the beginning, I said, look, this is going to be a full-time in-house positions, or I know you've already got he was running a little podcast production company himself, and he made some amazing stuff, but it was much more in-depth, beautifully narrative storytelling kind of podcast. He's made some brilliant stuff. And
I was saying now you just churn out any old shit like this one.
But we do, any old cack like this podcast. But we don't do, as an agency, we don't do narrative storytelling podcasts. We don't do true crime. We do brand building business podcasts for entrepreneurs and experts. That's kind of it. This does sound like an advert. But I had to make that really clear to him, because I was like, I definitely want you on board for the skill set. But I was like, is it going to be a fit culturally? And here's the thing, right? You will know within the first 5 minutes of when somebody walks in, I genuinely believe this, whether they're a good fit or not.
Yeah, I can see that.
You will know.
Yeah.
Sam walked in straight away within 15, 20 minutes, had a coffee. He doesn't drink coffee. He drinks this weird like herby stuff because he's like out there, man.
Love it.
But he'll hate that. He's like, it's not out there. It's just seeds. But straight away I was like, he's a cultural fit.
Yeah.
Like straight away. I knew that if the mission of the agency is generally to go from sort of where we were to scaling up big and then selling out to a bigger agency, which is the ultimate goal, Sam's going to be there for the whole thing.
Yeah.
I knew that within 5 minutes.
Yeah, I remember you saying it, actually.
I knew that within 5 minutes.
I remember.
Like yesterday, we went out for lunch because
I saw the video.
Eddie was working. Oh, robot.
God.
We've got a
no
robot.
wonder you didn't want dinner last night. God, it came out on like trays of.
But one of our guys
kebab meat.
Was poorly, and another one had a podcast of his own to record, so he went home early during lunchtime. So I said, Sam, should we just go for lunch? Now, those little things like that's culture.
Yeah.
That's building culture.
100%.
Because it's building a bot, and like you say, it's the fine line that I think you overthink you have to walk.
Yeah.
Is being professional, being
maybe you don't
like
have
their
to be
friend,
as
but without being their friend, if that makes sense. Because I would say that Sam's my mate.
Yeah.
And Sam works, and I think the other thing that it depends on the business that you're building, that Sam doesn't work for me. Sam works with me.
Yeah.
And that was a big shift in my mindset, was that people don't work for you, they work with you. Depending on the business.
Yeah.
Like some people, you know, if you have to have a strict hierarchy like the armed forces or the police or whatever, in certain businesses you need a hierarchy. And they have, layers of management, blah, blah, blah. And none of my team work for me.
Yeah.
They'll work with me.
I love that. And even with me, even though I don't have anyone employed myself, the people that I work with, that's how I see me and them working together. It's like we're a team. Like I work with them, and I love that. And actually, when I think about the people that I work with, like ongoing, how you do like gravitate towards people that share your kind of values. So I think definitely, culture, knowing your values, being authentic. So I'm actually going to go here. This is a quick list that I found on the Harvard Division of Continuing Education. I feel like I need some sort of like regal music, but you wouldn't have that set up because I didn't tell you, did I?
No, I've got you like this one?
Yeah, I don't think that's really Harvard.
Come on then, Harvard.
So this is what they suggest. So this is learning. This is literally, I've just taken the bullet points.
Okay.
Learning 6 tips for building better workplace culture. So define your values.
Oh, I said that.
Spoken about.
Does that mean I'm as clever as Harvard?
Yeah, it means you've basically been to Harvard. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Number 2, be authentic. And again, that goes back to us saying, just be you. You don't have to try and be professional or just like be open and honest. Create listening posts. So I guess this is thinking like if you've got a bigger company, but the idea of listening, so like listening to your team.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes complete sense, right?
And again, I think even if you're a small team, like lunch yesterday with Sam, like that's a listening post opportunity if you choose to do it. It's not me going, oh, like this is what we're doing, this brilliant. It's like, what else can we be doing? What's working really well? What's happening?
Well, that links into the next one, which is build psychological safety, which again is that you want to build a culture where people feel that they can be open and honest. And I think that's where you can have that boundary of like, actually you can be friendly, because you also have this kind of like safety that when things need to be said, people say them. When things need to be improved, you can pull people up on it, or vice versa, Number 5.
I struggle with that one, by the way, the psychological safety, because especially I think when you're a new company, especially when you haven't got like the systems and the processes, but you think that maybe you should.
Yeah.
Someone, I guess maybe it goes back to the previous point about listening posts. When someone questions something or brings something up, you can have a negative reaction to it because it personally, you're like, oh, I know I should have my shit together there. Like someone now, if they went, what's your safety policy, health and safety policy, I wouldn't have an issue with being like, we haven't got one. Like, probably should have one in a workplace environment, but whatever. But before, I'd be like, well, why do they want to know that?
Yeah.
Why do they need that?
Yeah. Get a bit spiky.
Yeah, and you almost like to not to protect yourself, but maybe it is your ego that doesn't like not knowing the stuff that you don't know.
Yeah, I have it sometimes. I used to get it a lot. Like if I've done a piece of work for a client and then they say, oh, I don't like this, or can we change that? I take it like, oh my God, I've not done a good job, and it's like.
You got better at that though recently.
I have got better, but lately, especially today, I found myself feeling like that again because I'm feeling anxious. So like. Something that it's not quite how I envisaged.
You okay though? You're feeling anxious.
Document.
Are you okay?
It's not how I wanted it. You suddenly are like, oh my God, I've done it wrong. And it's like, I actually haven't done it wrong. I've actually been really proactive. I just didn't ask them.
You can take stuff much too personally, and it doesn't serve you because you think that you should care, and you definitely should care about the quality of your work, but you can't take every bit of feedback, good and bad, personal.
On to that.
Oh, okay.
Number 5, accept and learn from mistakes. Massive. Definitely, I always say like. Anything that goes wrong, it's an opportunity to learn and put it right.
Yeah, we had a client. This was really interesting, actually, sort of about the whole culture piece. We had a client once where the wrong file had got uploaded to, and the client went berserk. We lost the client, and it was like a 10 grand client, and it was someone else within the team. This is previous to my current team, who had made the mistake, and I had to pull them on it. But when I pulled them on it, I said, look, we're going to have because there kept being these little things up. There was attention to detail wasn't there. And I said, right, look, we're going to have to have a meeting. I actually said, well, we're going to have like a disciplinary.
Yeah.
And because I called it a disciplinary, they went absolutely fucking berserk and started going, you're a fucking shit boss, blah, blah, blah. I'm amazing at my job. And to be fair, he or she had a point, but at the time I was like, but you got to learn from the mistakes. When saying again, as a small business, that's a 10 grand mistake.
Massive.
And sometimes like 10 grand is a fucking lot of money, like to most small businesses.
Yeah.
So you got to learn that lesson really well. But also looking back at it, I probably could have delivered the lesson in a slightly nicer way.
Yeah, definitely.
But it goes back to the point as well, even like from accepting and learning from mistakes. I genuinely believe, as I said, that you'll know if someone's a cultural fit really, really quickly or not. So I made lots of hiring mistakes early on. Sam will be laughing his arse off editing this because he'll remember the guys who didn't even get to the end of the first week. Are you trying to eat a biscuit?
No, I'm just seeing what the time was.
Okay, sorry. I thought you were trying to eat a sly biscuit then. I was like, how are you going to get away with that? But again, learning from the mistakes. Now I won't make the same mistakes with hiring, which again almost goes back into culture because now I'm going to get the rest of the team to have an input on the next people that we hire. Yeah. I'm not going to let them make the decisions or put them under the pressure to make the decision.
Yeah, but it's good to have their input.
Part of it, 100%.
And number 6 on this list was watching trends, which is quite good. I took that more from our point of view of, like businesses evolve, don't they? And I think with the culture, you want to like stay on trend, but like just knowing, what's going on in your industry and just making that part of the culture to always be the best you can be. I
think there is a little bit of a risk with the trend thing though, because the trend at the moment is like, work is almost, at one point, work was, you fit your life around your work.
Yeah.
That was the old school mentality of it, was it? Maybe the Industrial Revolution. Was that right or wrong? Who knows? But there's definitely been a shift recently where work has to fit into your life. Yeah. Which when you're running a company, like our work fits in with our life and it fits in with the kids and it fits in with family and all that stuff. Because we just
doesn't always feel like it fits.
No, but
but yeah, I know.
But then when you've got like staff, for example, who might want flexibility, sometimes it works for the business and sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. So you have got to walk that fine line where it's a great environment to work in, it's a great culture to work in, it's got a great atmosphere to work in. There is flexibility when there needs to be flexibility, but equally you have got to have a bit of rigidity. Is that a word? Of rules and regulations and a bit of structure. It's like this is the line. Yeah. Don't cross it. Yeah. And if you do cross it in a nice way, which is probably still always going to be my issue, in a nice way, communicate that line has been crossed and that such and such is not okay.
I think it's having boundaries as well. We need to move on. But one thing I just wrote there is, for me, obviously I don't have people that I'm creating this culture with. But the thing that the challenge that I've found is the culture of my work ethic, in the respect of I will over deliver to the point of, like, if I had an evening planned where I was just going to like relax because I really need to chill out or watch something, or I had something going on and something came up, even if it was like a last minute throw in from a client, I will just move everything and I'll jump on it and I'll do it. And then what happens is I have done more work that hasn't got through my list of work already on my plate. I've then over-delivered, as in I'm trying to turn things around quickly, so I've added pressure to myself. The client then gets used to me always being like doing things and turning it around quickly, so they get used to this kind of culture of like leaving things to the last minute because they know that I'll get it done. And it's fine. Of course, I'm going to do it every once in a while. I know things come up, but I'm creating that culture.
Yeah.
So one of the things
it becomes expected, isn't it, at a certain point?
The thing that I'm trying to do now is stop saying to people, yeah, I'll do that for you tomorrow. I'll get that done. Like, I'm trying to be a bit more like, okay, yep, I'll get that done, this week, or trying to be a bit more, a bit open about it. Because I know for me, like, the boundaries, it's all part of culture.
You have a little burp there.
I'm going to burp.
Shall I play a jingle while you burp?
We need to move into the family.
Let's go, family.
So we've had this, haven't we? It's like I'm sure this is like the Austin Power.
Family time on the Business Marriage Podcast. Family time. Ba-da-ba. Hi, welcome back to the family section of the Business Marriage Podcast.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because creating a culture in your family sounds a bit weird when you talk about it like that.
I've got a culture. Do what I say when I say it.
Well, this is it actually, because I've written down, I wish they could create a get ready for school without being a dick culture.
Yeah, I don't think that exists.
Well, it needs to, because honestly, I am getting absolutely sick of getting my 2 kids out of the door. And do you know what? They're up at George last night, it was not a good night.
No. He was poorly though last night, wasn't he?
He says he was poorly. He woke up, he was crying. And this is what is so frustrating. So George is 2.5. He is a daddy's boy. He always wants you, doesn't he? Apart from when he's unwell. So last night...
Normally, this is the first couple of times where he's gone to you when he's unwell, because normally he's just a daddy's boy full stop, but at the moment he's like, I want mummy.
So I go in there, I'm like, what's the matter, George? He's like, I just don't feel well. I was like, what's the matter? He's like, my tummy, but I got
tummy ache.
So I'm trying to like cuddle him, and then I get bored and I'm like, right, I'm going now. And then he starts crying again, so I'm like, back in again.
Like such a good mother.
So then I sit there, I'm lying next to his bed, I'm like, right, go to sleep. I have this thing where I say, you are safe, you are warm, you are loved. And then he hopefully goes off to sleep. But last night he wasn't having it. So in the end, James was like, let's just put him in our bed.
Which we've only done like 3 times in his whole life, whereas Louis lived in our bed. Which is a culture
that we had banned since George was born. Because Louis was a nightmare sleeper, wasn't he? He was always in our bed up until the age of about 4.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Which there's nothing wrong with that, and I know that some people love co-sleeping, and I've heard that it can be very good for them.
Co-sleeping, it's fucking terrible.
But last night when George got in our bed and then was just like tossing and turning, sitting up, he wanted your pillow, my pillow, his pillow. He didn't want my cover, so then he was like pushing the cover down, so I was absolutely freezing. I was so annoyed last night. And then in the end, I'm like, do you want to just go back in your bed? But then it's like that fine line of like, is he actually going to go back in his bed?
100% he was not going back in the bed.
Or is he not?
He was mugging you.
So I've actually...
I would like to know from the listener if this is a thing though. Because like at this point in time, so 2.5 and 6, it's like fucking behaviour roulette. You never know what you're going to get. Like sometimes they go outside, they get straight in their car seats, they're quite happy, you put them in,
Louis
you play Don't Stop Me Now by Queen, you drive to school, happy days.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just, and George,
I've got a massive
he's like
fail.
you, if he doesn't get his way.
I've got a parent fail, I need a
fire, hold fire. How bad was the parent fail? Was it
bad?
Was it okay, on.
Like really bad.
Tell me what happened.
So, I was trying to get the kids in the car. I said, no biscuits today, guys. We don't have biscuits every morning. They're
not every morning in our house because we're healthy.
I need to bribe you.
Yeah, exactly.
No biscuits. So Louis gets in the car. He's pretty good. He sits down. Thank you. George, on the other hand.
What happens?
He does not want to get in the car.
No way.
He's lying on the concrete floor of the driveway. I'm like, George, come up. And then they go limp, don't they? So you can't pick them up. So then you feel like you're actually like hurting them because you're sort of dragging them up by underneath their arms. So I put him in the seat.
Grab him by his head next time.
Okay,
That'll teach him.
So I put him in his seat. And what does he do? He starts arching his back and pushing himself out. Now, this seatbelt, you've got to get 1 arm, 2 arms, try and get the thing together before you can put it in. And if you haven't loosened it before, it's really difficult.
I mean, you're giving him a bit too much information about with the dramatic music here. You've got the last 30 seconds.
So I'm trying to put him in the car. He doesn't do it. So in the end, I get so annoyed. I pull him back out as if I was going to put him on a naughty step and realise that I'm outside. So then as I pull him out, he flings like that and hit his head on the car. So I'm like, brilliant. So then I go back in the car and I'm trying to sort of like wrestle him. So I've got like one arm sort of like holding him down and I'm getting the seatbelt and I finally put it in and he sits down and he is now screaming. So
I hope the NSPCC are not listening to this because I'm sure there's
I didn't hurt him. I'm just trying to get him in the car.
Did you not hurt him?
So then I say, Louis, do you know what? You've been so good. You can have a biscuit. So then
you didn't.
Yeah, I did. So George had to sit there crying because he doesn't now
So he's
get
already
a biscuit.
annoyed and now you're not giving him a
So
biscuit.
I'm like, you
I
need
would
to
have
learn a
fucking
lesson.
screamed as well.
So then we get to nursery and I'm talking to them and I'm saying, he's a bit moany. I said, because of what happened. I said, I had to wrestle him in the car. I said, he would not get in. He wouldn't listen. And
He's
he was
always an angel for them as well.
I
So
know,
they
he's
they
so
think it's this
good.
different kids
And I
because he
was
just
like-
walks in like butter wouldn't fucking melt.
I was like, he was flinging himself around. I said, so I had to get him in the car. Anyway, I leave.
She
This
leaves.
is the parent foul. I then get a text message because if they notice anything, they have to tell. They're like, hey, Hayley, we noticed a big fresh scratch behind George's ear. It might have been when you were fighting him into the car. Fighting him. I was so like, I nearly wrote back like, I wouldn't say fighting. I'd say more like wrestling. I was like, is wrestling sound any better than
No.
fighting? I felt awful.
So you battered and
they
scratched
know.
our
And I
kid to
said-
get him in the car.
I generally
How dare
didn't
you.
notice. So I'm going to George this morning. How did you do that behind your ear? He's like, in the car. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So it wasn't me. It's him flinging himself around. But
Self-harmed.
it did feel like a bit of a
This
parent
is real
foul.
bad.
It did feel like a parent foul. But to be fair, George is just going through terrible too, annoying phase.
Do you know why this problem has been created? Though? Problem has been
Okay, yeah.
created, and I'm not blaming you. But in a world where when they're getting into the car, if they're going to have like a little snack as a treat for doing their good behaviour,
I don't do this very often.
No, but the time like I was walking out the door the other day, and you're like, "Here's a snack for them." It's one of those fucking gigantic German biscuit tins. Well, of course, it looks and feels like a treat now. Even I don't even like biscuits, but I'm like, now I'm fucking
To
sold
be
on
fair,
it.
you think that was bad? This morning I had like a biscuit tin like this. And I was just
Why
like,
don't you take a biscuit?
Then they just pick it. I don't know. But
Oh, good.
do you know what? Talking about cultures and how your kids start like creating, you know, like the culture of like installing, I don't know if that's culture is the right word, but like when you realise your kids start to sort of
Absorb,
resonate
yeah.
or their personalities become not like you because they're their own person, but they say something you think, that's my kid, so I've got to share this. You might shed a tear. So we was in the car coming back from school and nursery.
There's a motive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Play some emotional music.
Okay, I don't know if I've got anything emotional.
Well, you might need to just
Okay.
hurry it up.
Oh, I'm really sorry. I haven't got anything. I've got this.
Oh,
I haven't got anything
you let
emotional.
yourself down
I
this week,
have,
James.
yeah. My jingle. I've got this.
You haven't even got the love music.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. So we was driving back in the car with George and Louis, and they'd both got in the car well tonight, so I was very happy. Driving back, and I thought, oh, should we give Daddy a ring? And because he's not home tonight. And Louis says, oh, why is he not home tonight? I said, oh, Daddy's got to work late tonight. And he says, why is that? And I said, well, Daddy's got someone come into his studio to record a podcast, so Daddy's going to help him. And he said, do you know what he said?
What?
You're going to cry?
No, I'm
oh my
gonna
God,
cry.
you're so going to cry.
Why am I going to cry?
He said, if Daddy's dad was still alive,
Oh,
he'd
no.
be so proud of him.
He didn't.
He did.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Hang on. I need a moment.
And I was like,
Where the fuck has he got that
I
from?
don't know. I was like, he would, Louis. That is such a lovely thing to
like,
say.
I reckon Louis, he might be the reincarnation of my dead dad. Which
that would be
makes
weird.
a lot of stuff weird. 'Cause I've wiped his ass. Oh, yeah, my dad. Both
I don't know.
both their
well, I was
asses.
going to say,
Yeah.
that's probably not so weird. What a lovely thing to say.
He is like,
Isn't that gorgeous?
that's lovely.
I don't know if that's culture, influence. I don't know, but I was like, whoa, that is
definitely
deep.
like culture and influence is definly linked closely.
yeah.
And actually, like I say, when like on the weekend, if I do like a little gym workout in the garage, it's why do you always do this? Because you know,
God, could you
Sam
just-
and Alex, who edit the podcast, they have spotted your snidey little
Good.
looks, and they even
Good.
zoom in on you. So, like for little clips and stuff, they zoom in on you.
Zoom in on this face.
So if you're being scratty with me,
Scratty.
yeah, that's scratty. Sam, also, a funny story, we'll talk about the fact he wouldn't put in a clip of you calling your fanny a chamois leather because he felt it was inappropriate to talk about his boss's fanny. His boss's wife? No, his boss's fanny.
You got funny. Oh, it's all coming out on this podcast.
It's all coming out. But
No,
in the
I'm not
garage,
against you working out. It's
Oh,
just the way
God,
you say
this
it.
one
Like when
again.
I work out, as if like, oh, go away.
have we got a thing later on where you're going to...
Yeah.
Okay,
three
yeah,
rolls.
that's coming up.
I think-
Anyway, so
I
when
think
I'm in
we
the
should
garage,
move
Louis turns around and he'll say, the other day at the gym, I'll have to find a little clip and put it out on our TikTok. Go follow us on TikTok, Business Marriage Pod.
Oh,
there you go. Business
Marriage Pod. We're on every social media platform at Business Marriage Pod.
There you go.
Pod.
And I said to him, we've got to do 16 to 20 reps. What should we do? He said, Daddy, we've got to do 20. I said, why? He said, because if you do 20, the more you do, the fitter you get.
Yeah.
And he said, he looked at the video, said, for anyone who's watching this, if you've got an opportunity, this is his exact words, if you've got an opportunity to either do less or more, always do more, because you'll get more out of it. So I was like, I don't know. I said, these weights are quite heavy.
You're like, that's my boy.
He's like,
as you were doing your baked bean can.
What is wrong with you?
Just imagine you out there with 2 baked bean cans.
Do you know how much I can pick up now? Do you know what I picked up in the gym yesterday? 32 kilos.
Oh, God. Do you know
Which is combined 74 kilos. Do you know how much I weigh? 71. I'm basically like an ant. I can lift my own body weight.
The effort and the constant.
Do you not think it's worth the effort, though?
No.
You literally couldn't give a fuck, could you?
No.
It's coming out in our culture.
Anyway,
and Louis also said, this is my favourite thing, if it gets tough, like when you're doing a little workout, he goes, come on, you got this. Let's go, champ.
I love it.
Fucking love that shit.
What a legend.
Is it time for this now?
Yeah, right. Let's do it.
What are you going to run this? Because I don't know what you've got.
Time
I don't know
for
what you've got.
Small Business Shoutout. As you know.
Oh, Small Business Shoutout. I didn't think you were doing that bit. Sorry.
I was doing. I'm pointing there.
No, you were. Hopefully someone zoomed in on that. You pointed at that, and then you clocked your mistake, and you used your really dry little finger and went across the paper. I can hear it like sandpaper.
Horrible hands. I
used to love your hands.
There. So as you know, oh God. No, just no. As you know,
I wasn't saying it because of that. I was just thinking.
I love your hands.
No.
Okay.
Carry on.
As you know, at this point
You're gonna
in
get us
our
cancelled.
podcasting career,
all 3 episodes.
We don't have any sponsors, so we figured why not every week.
We don't have sponsors because we don't want them.
Oh yeah, no, we don't want people to come knocking on our door.
If you've got money and you want to advertise on a podcast, take your fucking cash and go elsewhere because your money's no good round here. We only talk about sponsors and brands that we love who are small and can't pay us any fucking money.
But if you do want to pay us money, we'd definitely consider it, right?
We would love to have your money, and I take all of the previous statement back.
And then we just scrap that. So as we're talking about culture. And I'm not always going to talk about my clients, but I figured why not? Because I actually work with a lady. She's phenomenal.
She's a lady.
And she's actually a culture and leadership coach.
What is a cultural coach?
So she's got a massive career background working in like HR, and she now basically goes in on like a consulting level, and she helps them from the ground or the up down and the down up to filter through their whole culture.
I've never seen someone talk so much with their hands when
down,
it's
up, down,
up, down, up, filter.
And when they're up, they're up. Yeah, anyway. So I'm going to shout out Pippa Savoury, and her website is pippasavoury.com.
I go for a full shout out.
Why not? And
should we give her a round of applause? Well done, Pippa.
I've been working with Pippa for a few months.
So you're only shouting her out because you then promotes the work that you've done?
No, I'm promoting her.
Double promotion.
Because she is a culture and leadership coach. And I just thought when we're talking about it, a lot of the things that I learned when I was working with her about what she does was really interesting about how you effectively from the top of the company, you're taking the values and the vision and you have to work out. I'm talking, she works with like companies with like hundreds of staff. Do you know what I mean? And she has to work out.
Oh, she's too good for me. Is that what you're saying? She's too good for me, she old Pippa. Fine.
How they basically install that culture into all of their staff. And then it's about making sure that there's like the right people doing the right things, that they're proactive, that they're motivated, that they have clear responsibilities, they're accountable. So she does that on corporate level. She also works with like business leaders one-to-one. But I just
sure you haven't been paid for this?
No, I haven't, but I'm shouting her out. Hello, Pippa Savoury.
Congratulations,
Small Business
Pippa Savoury.
Shoutout. There you go.
Small Business Shoutout. If you need your culture cultured, if you need top down, bottom up, in between, Pippa Savoury might just be your lady. Go to pippasavoury.com.
I hope she listens.
How do you spell savoury?
Savoury.
Okay, savoury. There you go. Click the link in the show notes. We'll link out. That's our Small Business shout out.
Before we end on our special segment this week, so we were asking for partner battles. So of course, if there is anything, it could be a partner as in love, partner as in business, a friend that you
I've got
work
a question
with.
for you. Sorry.
What?
We were doing a little promo for this yesterday that I was recording on. Oh, I don't know why I'm holding your hands so
hands
much
are really
today.
dry
They're
now.
really
What?
dry
Get
but
off.
clammy at the same time.
Hot. You're
It's
hot.
like wet sandpaper.
Carry on.
When I said the word lover, you always
My eyes twitching.
is it?
When
Feels
I
a
said the
come
word
on.
lover.
When I said the word lover, because I said, well, your eyes freaking me out.
Is it twitching?
It's like an alien. It's like an alien is controlling your face.
You know, I've got a twitchy eye. I think that's like stress or boredom. I'm not sure.
I think it's
joking,
your
it's stress.
bitchiness coming out of your face.
Because I
Anyway, carry on.
because
Sorry.
I had to
Go
share
on.
my bed with a small child last night, and George.
What's that noise again? Ah. Don't laugh on your wee. You know you do that these
No,
days.
sorry, what?
Small child and George. That was very good, to be fair.
Yeah, when I'm
That's very
What?
good. Well,
when you say I love you, what?
yeah, well, I was doing a promo. I was saying, about like we'll try with your partner battles, whether it be like your business partner or your lover, and you always go like, ugh.
Don't say it. It's just so cringe.
Why is it cringe? You gotta lick your fucking hands.
Your lips. Say lover. I don't know.
I've got
Why
a
is
really
it
dry
cringe?
mouth.
So we've
Finish
got-
with this weird
anyway,
segment,
We were
come
asking
on.
for partner battles. If you've got a partner battle, even if it's something silly at home that you argue about,
Oh,
and
you
want
are
us
silly.
to help you decide who's right or wrong. So we've been putting it out there, and we haven't had any particular battles yet to
You ain't put it out there for a while.
for us to referee. But we did have a couple. Victoria and Neil, who did say that
Who I love, by the way.
the partner battle that they are having at the minute is who do they like more?
Who do you like more? Partner battle. Do you like Hayley? If so, text in. Don't text. We ain't got a text number.
Imagine that.
Or even no. Let's
Don't
just
text.
Yeah, don't text.
Who do they like more, me or James? And I'm like, well, it's obvious, it's me.
Actually, on the first episode.
Yeah, I'm funnier.
Yeah, you are actually funnier because this has always been my thing.
on.
I've always been funnier,
No.
but you've
Yeah,
been more
as we
attractive.
said, over
Now I've got
life,
nothing on you.
Over the time, that funny side is just
Withered away.
rinsed away. So now you're just,
Just a guy with a sharky little face and
yeah. So that's their battle. So I've solved the battle for you, Neil and Victoria. Did you say Victoria? Have I just pronounced? Because I like to say Vicky, and I was like, oh, she's Victoria. I'm just going to chuck it out there. Me.
Fine, okay,
Cool.
sure.
Moving on to our special segment of the week. Can we have some music?
Yeah, let's have this again. I like this. This is super cool. I feel like I'm on the radio.
Okay, so as it's culture, I figured this week I asked James to come up with 3 rules of culture that we are going to instill at home that I have to do.
Okay. I've
Okay.
got 3 things for you.
So we've got 3
I've got 3
rules of
you've gotta
things that
do.
maybe, I don't know, maybe there's things that I do that annoy you that I
No, I
can't
can't think of
do.
one.
Okay.
Can't think of
well,
one.
that was scratchy.
That was, wasn't it?
Okay, so it wasn't a very good title, was it? 3 culture rules the others have to adopt. Not a very good title at all.
Shittest name for a section ever.
Not
Have you-
clickbait at all.
Have you written yours down?
I've written mine down.
Okay. Right.
I'm just going to put my phone here
Okay.
so I can just... Okay, do you want to go first, James?
No, you can go first because I don't know what's coming up.
Okay.
Culture rule number
So the
1.
first one that I'm going to change culture
Okay.
is the rubbish. So James has these great ideas where he's like, I'm just going to mow the lawn. This is what he wants to do at the weekend. I'm going to mow the lawn. So he goes outside, he mows the lawn for like, I don't know, 4 hours, probably listen to about 5 podcasts. And then what he doesn't do is then get rid of all of the rubbish. So our front garden is still full of sacks of garden waste that have sat there for like months and months. So the culture that I want you to install is if you are going to clean the garden, take the bloody rubbish away.
Can I just quickly summarise that then? So you're
Yeah.
telling me if I do a job, which you're making out sound like a fucking
Which you
hobby,
love. Yeah, it is.
cutting the grass
Yeah, you love it.
is not a hobby.
You love it.
Is
You're
not-
out there with your headphones in. No one's allowed to go out. You have like
Look,
2 hours a piece.
Hang on a second.
No, I'm
hang
not having it.
the
No,
fuck
I'm not
on a
having it.
second. You go out there
I'm not having
by
it.
yourself because I'm not going to
love
let a
it.
2-year-old
love
be
it.
around the lawnmower.
You love it.
What do you
Love
mean?
it.
You're so annoying. You guys keep saying you love it.
I'm just saying, just get
You
rid of
love
the
it.
rubbish,
Okay, fine.
please. Thank
So
you.
if I do one task, if I give myself one chore,
just basically,
make sure I
whenever
finish
you're
off all the
doing
chores.
anything like clearing out rubbish, and you say you want to do it, and you're going to take it to the tip, actually take it to
I
the
can actually
tip.
feel the air off your hand. Going
Next one. You go. Or
I haven't got.
shall I just
Yeah,
do
you
mine?
do
I'll
yours.
do
Yeah.
mine. Okay, the next one. Save passwords.
Safe passwords. Save.
Passwords. The amount of times I say, James, can I just log in?
I thought you were
What's
asking
your
about a
password?
safe word then.
And he'd be
I
like,
was
I don't know what my password is. Just save your passwords. Get LastPass, for God's sake. It saves them automatically.
You are definitely being paid to get sponsored by people, aren't you?
No, I'm not actually. But like,
I can't be asked for
can
that.
we log into our new Instagram account? I don't know what the password is. Honestly,
Well,
you only set it up
I don't
24
know.
hours ago. Like, how do you forget?
Because I do. I'm busy. I'm
Okay,
busy
last
doing
one.
gardening that I
the
love.
last thing that I want you to stop doing
Okay.
is trying to be fun dad at 8 o'clock in the morning when we have to get our kids out the door at 10 past 8. So the other day, Louis got a great present for his birthday, which are like 2 foam rockets that you tread on
This was a mistake.
You tread on the foot pump and then they kind of go off. And James said, I know kids, we'll do it before school. So what happens is at 8 o'clock, who's out there doing rockets? It's actually me, because James realised he's got to scrape the car because it's iced over. And so it was not fun.
Another thing I love doing.
Yeah, not fun. So that is it. So take the rubbish to the dump.
Okay.
Save your passwords.
Okay.
And stop trying to be the fun guy at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. All of those things I
Okay,
can
great.
do.
You'll go. 3 things. It's going to be tough,
Do you know what? I wouldn't change anything about you because I think that you are pretty special.
I'm true. I'm true.
I'm true.
I'm true.
I'm true.
I'm true.
If I had to, though, if I had to change a few things about you, I would change,
It wasn't called change. It was like installing a culture,
which is changing.
which is when you've done the gardening, take the rubbish away. When you've set up a new account, save the password. When you're getting the kids ready for school,
Don't have fun with them.
don't say that you're going to play a really fun game when you've got no time.
Okay, fair.
Because the mornings you're here, like, I still do everything.
Okay.
Just letting you know that. Anyway.
Wow,
Whoa.
this got cold,
Said I was
didn't it?
feeling a bit spiky today.
Are you okay though? Because I won't bring that up.
Shut up.
Because I won't. I wouldn't change anything about you. I think you're perfect.
Oh, you're such a liar.
Do you know what you should do though? You should go for a walk.
Hate that.
We will talk about why
hate
that annoys
that.
Hayley so much on another episode. Thank you for listening to this instalment of Business Marriage. You are crabby today, aren't you?
Oh, I am a bit crabby.
Crabby?
You know what? Crabby? Don't call me crabby.
That's the thing, isn't it? Crabby. If someone's being moody, you're crabby.
It probably is.
I'm
Who's
not-
getting the kids? You or me?
Well, me, obviously.
Excellent.
God forbid I have too much fun, though. Maybe I'll go outside and I cut the grass with them.
Maybe
and have,
you
and
will.
have, and have
Listen to a
non-stop
podcast
fun.
For 5 hours.
What is wrong with listening to a podcast?
Nothing,
It's
but I'm
continued
just saying,
CPD, continual
Think of
professional
how many
development.
hours in our week that you just go off.
And listen to a podcast?
Yeah.
What
Okay,
is
I'll
what-
just go off and...
What?
You know,
What?
yeah, listen to a podcast.
You probably could do with listening to a podcast.
I listen to a few.
You listen to... What do you listen to?
Can I shout them out?
If you want.
Well, I like Shag, Married, Annoyed.
Okay. Oh, competitors. Good
I
idea.
like Newlyweds.
Fucking hell, competitors. It's actually called Nearlyweds, but there you go.
Newlyweds. I like all the comedy ones.
So you like all of our competitors,
Yeah.
all of our enemies.
Yeah.
Good
No, they're not
choice.
enemies. They're
Pod friends.
inspiration.
Friends. Inspiration.
You better get down the gym, and yeah.
I'm gonna have to go to school to do a double school run.
And you can take that rubbish down the tip as well.
You know. Thanks for listening, everybody. This has been Business Man. Don't
Love
touch
you.
me.
Oh,
Don't
you're very
touch.
hot.
Thank you. Not in a good
No,
way.
it's
Yeah, thanks for listening. We'll be back again another time for another installment of Business Marriage. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
This show is a Phonic Media production.